Do you believe Ricketts and Jed Hoyer when they said this weekend? Well, two things. Do you believe them when they say, we're just trying to break even each year? We don't have the money the Dodgers do. And that's just the truth of it.
Do I believe them?
Do you believe that? Do you believe them when they say we are going to spend all the Bellinger money?
Yes.
So one of two.
I do think that they're going to find a way to be close to that first-tier luxury tax because they're the Cubs and they should be. They should be. Now obviously.
But probably under it.
Right. They're not going to go over it. We know this. But I'm saying that they're going to be near it. And they should be because they're the Cubs. Now, do I want them to just spend money to spend money? No, of course not. So you gotta go get the guys that you think can fill out the rest of this roster. So I'm just at a point right now, as we speak here on January 21st, I don't know which direction they're headed now. They loved Tanner Scott, who's another reliever that they've been linked to out there that they really liked. No one anymore. So I don't know
who's
where
the trade target.
Yeah, who's the trade target that Jesse Rogers thinks that they might go out and find? I don't know. So it's just a real confusing day for me in all of this, on top of the fact of just being really annoyed with the Dodgers. Now, do I believe that Tom is just trying to break even every year? No. We talked about this a little bit at the end of yesterday's show. It's just a slap in the face to all of us that he says something like that, in my opinion, considering how much money they bring in. Now, I know Marquee has really struggled, right? Marquee has struggled, and it's basically out there that we know that, and they're not bringing in the kind of money the Dodgers are. I'm not asking the Cubs.
I don't disagree that they did pay for their own renovation of the stadium and rebuild the entire neighborhood. They absolutely did.
But that doesn't, to me, that's not an excuse to not spend more like a big market team. And I'm not asking them to spend $500 million in an offseason like I feel like the Dodgers are doing, even though they're not doing that. But
right.
you understand the sentiment. I'm just asking you to not let the first-tier luxury tax bind you. And that's how they operate. That's my biggest annoyance with them, because there's certainly been some guys that they could have added to this team in the past that they didn't because of this type of thing. And also, him and Jed Hoyer both they always talk about how things could look in 2030. And it's just like what Theo Epstein said, if not now, when are you going to, when are you going to decide to go out there and be like, we want to be NLCS at least contenders? Right now, as much as I think they've had a good offseason and it's better than last offseason, I still feel like, okay, they can win this division, maybe win a playoff game, and if all the stars align, maybe go to the NLCS. If all the stars align. That's where it's at. That's how I feel about where this team is. But if they truly care about winning, they would do more. If they truly, in that interview that Tom did with David Kaplan and Ryan McGuffey, he talked a ton about how we need to win and we need to get back to the playoffs and all this. Okay, then show it. He just doesn't. By how they're operating, how they're letting the first tier luxury tax define how
limit
they're going
them or how they're going to go about doing it. Maybe
it just doesn't go together. So again, when we're talking about the relievers and stuff, I'm thinking in my head on how it feels like they're operating. Now, Tom did say that they'll always have money at the trade deadline. So what does that mean? I don't know, but we've seen them.
They're good enough. He's willing to go for it.
Right.
It's time.
We've seen that before. But like Carter Hawkins said in the chat earlier, what if you're out of it by then like you were last year because your team blew 8 games in April, So I don't know, man. This whole thing with Tom and him talking this past weekend, it was just very I appreciate him for not hiding like a lot of owners in this city do. But at the same time, the way he says things, it just, considering how much they charge, considering how much they, are asking of fans, we just deserve so much more, in my opinion, man.
I do appreciate that the Ricketts family was willing to let Jed and Theo tear it down. I appreciate that they saved Wrigley Field and built up the neighborhood with their own money. and I appreciate that they did it, and every other team in town is begging for state funds. Not that the Cubs didn't, but they didn't get it, and then they still did it.
Right.
So I appreciate all of those things. I will say, like, Jed and Tom both talked about how they were very disappointed last year. They got to win this year, yada, yada, yada. We all know that. But we feel like we're in a really good place to be in a competitive window for a long time. Like, they feel like they finally set that up. Now, that doesn't mean that wasn't said the year before, maybe even the year before that. But if they don't make the playoffs this year, and if Tucker's not here next year, meaning 26, then you're going to have to come back and own up to it. Right? Like, if those two things happen, then you're going to have to reassess how this is all going about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that still comes back to Jet.
Yeah.
Because you are outspending the division. Could you be spending more like the Dodgers? Maybe, but obviously, I do believe they don't have the money the Dodgers do. Obviously, they don't. They don't have the money the Mets do. They don't. But would I like to see more? Would I like to see a $400 million player? I would like to see Tucker be that $400 million player. They haven't had a left-handed hitter.
But they were...
I don't believe they've had a left-handed hitter hit 40 home runs since Billy Williams.
They haven't, no.
Right?
They haven't.
I'd like to see Kyle Tucker hit 40 and then go 100, give him $400, $500 million.
Do just have some stats real quick before I find the left-handed stats. Here are the rankings of attendance per game for the Cubs in Major League Baseball since the Ricketts took over in 2009. 2009, 9 of 30th, 10th, 7th of 30th, 11, 9 of 30, 2012, 10 of 30, 13, 12 of 30, 2014, 11 of 30. Now keep this in mind, those last 2 years, 11 and 12th. 2015, 6 of 30, 2016, 5th of 30, 2017, 5th of 30, 2018, 5th of 30, 2019, 4th of 30, 2022, 9th of 30, 2023, 9th of 30, 2024, 6th of 30. The only reason they're not higher is because their stadium just holds less than other MLB stadiums. Yeah. They sell out consistently, and the fact that this is a billionaire who, as Carter Hawkins mentions, is bidding on Premier League teams, it's a joke. You know, like
not the real Carter Hawkins.
Yeah, not the real Carter.
It's not the real Carter Hawkins?
I mean, don't let the facts get in the way.
Don't let the facts get in the way.
Don't let the facts get in the way. Yes, the way like they pack the ballpark, all these things, like it's just a bad look, and that's basically what we said yesterday. And I'm like I said, I'm not asking you to spend the most money every offseason. I'm asking you to not let the first tier luxury tax hold you back. How many guys have places signed? Like, why were they never a factor in Max Fried? Why are we not calling Juan Soto? Corbin Burns? You want to go previous seasons? Corey Seager? You want to go, like, you were so high on Aaron Judge, he would have never came to the Cubs anyway, but they didn't even try.
He might have come if you gave him another $100 million.
I don't know about that. But
alas,
this is the
Guff did ask Ricketts what bothers him more. Is it the years on a big contract, or is it the money on a big contract? And he did say the years.
And so when I heard that today, I was like, man, is this just like an organizational thing? Because I think the narrative...
Then give Soto $100 million a year and opt-outs.
Right?
Put you over the tax, but...
The narrative for that over the last 4 years has been that that's a Jed thing. But when you hear Tom say it's like, is this just an organizational thing now? And that makes me very nervous.
It gives you indigestion.
It gives me indigestion. It makes me very nervous about how this plays for Kyle Tucker. Now, again, Kyle Tucker's got this is all going into thinking that Kyle Tucker's going to have a huge 2025.
40 bombs.
We don't know what he's going to do in 2025. But if he has the highest WAR on the team in 2025 and he wins a Gold Glove and he helps lead the Cubs to the playoffs, this guy's going to get a massive payday, right?
Yeah.
You could the pro of long-term contracts is that the AAV comes down. But if they're willing to do these short-term and pay a higher AAV, fine, but considering how much they're holding themselves back on going over that first-tier luxury tax, it makes so much more sense to just give him the long-term contract. That way it's a lower AAV. So I'm just very concerned, as are many fans. As excited as I am about Kyle Tucker, in reality, I'm also scared shitless.
We all silly like the mayor.